Senator Sanders canceled his rally in Mississippi to go to Detroit Friday night, where polls show VP Biden ahead. Joining us now from Lansing is Beth LeBlanc, political reporter for the Detroit News. Thanks, Beth, for being with us on this Friday night.
Thanks for having me.
What are you seeing and hearing among your top Democratic sources on the ground in your state?
So earlier this week, Biden was ahead about 7 points ahead of Sanders. But that was before Super Tuesday, when Biden arguably gained a lot of momentum. It was before the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, endorsed Biden and became one of his national campaign chairs. So arguably he's ahead even more now going into Tuesday. But Sanders has a pretty aggressive campaign schedule this weekend. He's going to make 4 stops in Michigan, probably more on Monday. So he's not out of the race. And you know, Sanders did take Michigan in 2016 over Clinton. So he has some history here. He has some supporters among progressive Democrats. So it should be interesting to see how it shakes out on Tuesday.
When you look at the Sanders map from 2016 and his coalition this time around, where are the areas in the state that matter to him in the coming days?
I think he's really going to be looking at college campuses in the coming days. One of his stops on Sunday is at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. He's also got a lot of work to do in the Detroit area. You know, Biden has a pretty long history with Detroit that Sanders needs to compete with in that sense, and it's not clear whether he is yet.
Is Vice President Biden putting a major emphasis on the auto bailouts from the Obama administration?
Yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, we've heard from a lot of his surrogates about that bailout. We've also heard about a lot of the time he spent in Detroit as Detroit was going through its bankruptcy, and some of the help he provided for federal grants for, you know, housing demolition or transit. They've really been emphasizing that here in Detroit, chiefly Mayor Mike Duggan, who has been with him kind of since he announced his campaign last year.
Beth, stay with us. Jonathan, how significant is Michigan? If Sanders loses Michigan, what does that mean for his campaign?
It's an enormous blow to his campaign, in part because he won there, Bob, in 60, but more to the point because it would be an ominous portent about his prospects in the rest of the Midwest. Look, Biden has done well in the South. Bernie has done well in the West. It's clear that this primary is going to be decided in the Midwest, and that's the battleground. And if Sanders cannot do well in Michigan, what's he going to do in Illinois, Ohio, and Wisconsin, all of which are coming up in the next few weeks? And a fast point, Bob, too. I was looking at that poll, digging into it earlier today. Here's a big reveal on that poll. The second choice preference for Bloomberg voters, I'll give you one guess what it says. It's Biden by a mile.
What about
Bloomberg off the ballot?
What about Senator Warren? Will she endorse in the coming days?
I don't know that she will, and I don't know that she has to, frankly. Part of her problem is that she has a voter base that is not clearly in one camp or another.
Right.
And so if she were to endorse, there's no guarantee that her people will go either to Bernie Sanders or to Joe Biden. And so it might be better for her to just hold on to her endorsement and potentially play a kind of unifying role as we get closer to a convention, no matter who the nominee is. I think she could potentially play that role. She's got these well-educated voters, many of them women, who are looking to see what she does. And I think that both Biden and Bernie Sanders would benefit from someone who can bring those people along.
Beth, what's the outlook in the labor community so important in Michigan?
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been looking toward that community, especially since Trump in 2016 took a lot of the blue-collar vote. Especially in Macomb and Oakland counties. And, you know, a lot of people have been looking to it, how they're receptive to Sanders' Medicare for All plan, because they just spent a lot of time negotiating for their private health care here in Michigan. But Sanders was here last year when they were picketing, and when the UAW was on strike, he was here walking beside them. And Biden, I think, also participated in some of those strikes, but not in Michigan. So there might not be as much of as great a memory of that as it was for Sanders.